continuing in the love song. Every day our life with Christ is a love song that we're writing until we sing with Him for eternity. We're in chapter 8, verse 6, and we're going to cover the last part of verse 6, which is the coals thereof are coals of fire, which has a most vehement flame. You know, as we're in this part of the song, we're in a climax. There's been many peaks in the Song of Songs, but this is really the climatic portion of the song. We have fire here, and this fire is the fire of Christ, the fire of the bride, and then it's the fire of both of them together become one. The love of Christ is a love that burns. It's burning throughout the earth, and we want Him, and He wants His love to increase. This fire needs to increase, and everything else should decrease. And this love is burning throughout the earth, capturing people's hearts, that He can have His bride. This is why this fire of love is burning. His love is burning universally on the earth. So many parts of the earth, the love of Christ is burning. And it's also burning personally. It's burning in your heart. It's burning in my heart. And so many believers who are just like, they're just crazy. They're beside themselves with the love of Christ or the love for Christ. And this love is just spreading through the earth. It started with the beloved Christ, as the love of God was incarnated into Christ. And then His love went to the cross. At the cross you could see a big display of love. And then in resurrection there was a victory of love. And then in ascension there was the exaltation of love. Now the Spirit has been poured into our hearts. It's poured out the love of God on the earth, and this love is spreading from person to person, from house to house, from city to city, country to country, nation to nation. And the fire of God's love is just unstoppable until it's manifested in full at the marriage of the Lamb with His bride. And then this will be an eternal love, an eternal fire, this eternal union and expression. And so in this verse it uses the phrase, we covered this last week, but I'll just mention a couple more thoughts of coals of fire. And these coals of fire is just a burning love of Christ towards us. And then what happens is, as it comes towards us and we realize the love of Christ, it returns back to Christ as coals of fire. So it comes to us as fire, coals of fire, and then it returns back to Christ as coals of fire. And you can see this is just a fellowship of love. And these coals of fire are just glowing with light. Our fellowship with Christ is a matter of light, and it's warming our heart. It's just warm with heat. The love of Christ just warms us. It just takes away all distractions, and nothing can stop the fire of love in our hearts. Once the fire entered into me many years ago, it's continually been burning. And when we talk about fire, we're talking about love, but fire in the Bible has at least, maybe you can consider more, but at least three characteristics. One is the fire is a matter of judgment. As the fire destroyed the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah in Genesis 19, the evil world of the enemy with God actually will conclude in the lake of fire, to show that all that is against God, all that replaces Christ, just will be burned away, and they're going to suffer the fire of God. Also, fire in the Bible is used of sacrifice, and one particular sacrifice that is so wonderful that as we lay our hands on Christ, we can experience this sacrifice. It's the burnt offering. Christ was consumed by the fire of God. And so what happens with that, it's just continually burning for God's pleasure and for God's satisfaction. And this is what Abraham did with his son. He was bringing his son as a burnt offering for God's pleasure, and we know how God provided. Or in Leviticus 6, the burnt offering with the fire was put on the altar, and this fire, it says in Leviticus 6, it should not go out. So the burning fire of his love in us should never go out. We should constantly be burning in love towards him. And this is God's love actually on the cross when he was sacrificed. But even more now, this love is our consecrated, our surrendered love to him as we live in union with the crucified Christ. And this is the love that is burning within us as we're attached to Christ as a burnt offering. And then also, thirdly, the love, the fire could be the nature of God. The nature of God. In Exodus 3:2, God was burning there in the bush. God is love. God is fire. And the burning bush was just burning there, and it would not go out. And it's like in Hebrews 12:29, it says that our God is a consuming fire. So the burning flame of God with his love will never go out. It never decreases, and it just seems like it's fed on an infinite, from an infinite storehouse. It's just burning. We change, man changes, but God is unchanging, and his love will never decrease. The love of God can never die out, though our love, it just fluctuates. Today I love, tomorrow I don't. And oftentimes circumstances in our life will either cool us down or heat us up, but the love of God can never die out. Our God with his love, it just constantly remains the same. And the fire of God's love just continues eternally to burn. So these coals of fire, it's the purifying of his burning love is a fire within us that is just removing or burning up the dross of the world, the dross of self, the dross of so many things that would just want to replace our beloved Christ. And then Jesus says in John 15:9, he says, continue in my love. So to continue in his love is actually to continue in the burning fire of his incessant love. His love, it enlightens. When we are in this fire, there's light. It exposes us. Then this fire, there's a burning, and it just burns away the dross of so many things other than Christ. It purges us. And then his love, it just warms our heart to love him as he loves us. We love what he loves, we hate what he hates, and he is our first love. When you read this phrase, the coals of fire, in the Vulgate version, they use the phrase lamps of fire. So you get the idea of enlightening and burning put together. The light, what does the light do? It exposes, it reveals all that is not of him. And then the fire burns away what is not of him. So the shining fire, the heat of his love, occupies our heart to want just only him. We receive the fire of his love, we enter into the fire of his love, and we become one with the fire of his love until both he and we are burning together in this fire of love. So this word fire, it comes after these strong phrases in chapter 6 regarding his strong love and his cruel jealousy. And then it says, there are like a vehement flame which burns all up that has no value and is combustible. All that is of time, temporary, is corruptible. So many things I hold on to that are temporary, that when the fire of his love comes, they no longer can have a competing place with him. So it says the coals thereof are coals of fire, which is a most vehement flame. And this phrase, a most vehement flame, literally means a flame of Jah, or a flame of Jehovah. And this is the only place throughout this song, the Song of Songs, where this sacred name of God is found. And actually, this phrase is a compound of three words: of flame, of fire, and of Jehovah. And it's used to express something infinitely great and mightily strong, because our God actually is a consuming fire. So this is a supernatural, this is an eternal flame that is kindled and cherished by God within the lovers of Christ. And the love of the bride towards her husband, towards Christ, is divine. It's not a natural love. The fire of Jehovah, the fire of God, is just producing fire in others. You touch this fire and you become part of the fire. His fire begets fire. His love begets love. Love is of God, for God is love. And this love is just a most vehement flame. You know, when you go through the Word of God, God's name is often tied together with superlatives just to describe his greatness. So sometimes God is considered like a mountain, the mountains of God, or the cedars of God. And here God is connected with a flame, the flames of Jehovah. When you go into Exodus 3, you're seeing God in relation to the burning bush. And it was there that this flaming fire, that Jehovah was revealed. There was a revelation, the fire of God that would not go out. And then as Moses went there, he was attracted to the fire. And then eventually he was called from the fire. And then he was commissioned from the fire to bring God's people out of Egypt into the good land for the purpose of building up a temple for his expression. So love here in this, his love is like a fire, the burning eternal love of his son Christ. And the fire of love is divine in its source. The fire of love is human in expression. The bride, she had no love. She maybe, I don't know what you would call it, but when she started to receive Christ, she received love. Throughout the song, we just see the bride gaining and growing in Christ as her first love. Now this section, like I say, it's a climax. You see the bride in maturity. She's in total union with the fire of love. And what she's doing is she's giving back this fire of love to him. She returns all the love that she is or has become and has back to where it came from. And where did it come from? It came from her beloved bridegroom, from her husband. So now together, this is such the goal of our life with Christ is there'd be one flame of love of Jehovah God burning both in the bride and the bridegroom. So we need to just open to the Lord daily and just appreciate the fire of love burning within us. This fire of love is consuming us. This fire of love is warming us, attracting us, drawing us to himself, that he can have a bride that matches him in the fire of the love of God.